Good evening, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm your host, Curtis Smith. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. And as always, a huge thanks to our community partners, Tesco, Shepherd Community Center, and Prime 47 downtown. Without the support of these caring organizations, we would not be with you every Thursday night right here on WHMB TV 40 at 9:30. As always, we have a great show for you tonight, and we have a very special guest with us tonight as well. Brian Burdick has been recognized as one of the best lawyers in America every year for more than 15 years. He's the managing partner for Barnes Thornburg here in Indianapolis, and he joins us right now. Brian, thanks for carving out a few minutes to be with us tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure, Curtis.
Tell me a little bit about your life. Managing partner at Barnes Thornburg, a huge and important law firm in Indianapolis and all over the country. What is life like for you day in, day out at work?
I mean, it's busy. Selling your time for a living is a constant choice between, do I get this done? Do I go home for dinner? Am I meeting a friend for lunch? Am I having a chance to do something personal, like read a book I've been trying to read for a while? But it's busy. It's interesting post-COVID, bringing people back to the office. That's been more of a struggle than maybe I would have anticipated. Some of that might be generational. To try to get people to come back and work. What we do is collaborative. For a living, being a lawyer, you work in teams, you work with others. To get trained well, you need to be together. And so that's a cultural matter that we take very seriously at the firm. Culture is something we've always held very important to us. Yeah. And so trying to keep that, regain maybe where we were, has been a focus for us. But it's tough. I mean, my normal day is probably a third in the management realm, and then 2/3 of my practice that I still maintain.
Wow. It's Thanksgiving. Let me ask you a personal question. In the midst of a crazy world, what are you thankful for this year?
Well, really for the health of my family and my friends. Coming through COVID and coming through a time period where mental health's been a big issue in this country in the last 3 years. Been a big issue for a long time, but people talk about it more openly than they ever have. And that's healthy for us as humanity, healthy for us as friends, family, employers, acquaintances. For me, the health of my family and my friends. I'm lucky that my parents are still with us in their 80s, and they have good health. My in-laws the same, and our kids are doing well. My extended family's doing well. Our friends are enjoying their families. We have great times with our friends. We're focused on making time for those type of things. So I'm in a good place, and I'm happy that my family and friends are as well.
You mentioned your kids. Tell us about your one son, a special needs son that you have, and what his life is like and what that has brought to your life.
Yeah, it's interesting. So thanks for asking about him. Nick is 28 years old. And just moved into his first apartment last week, which is a big thing for him and a big thing for us. But Nick is a high-functioning autistic guy. I would characterize him Asperger's plus autism light on that spectrum in my layman's way of thinking about it. And, for us, he was our oldest, and he started to have some delays as a child getting to school, really about the second to third grade level, where you started to see some separation in interest of kids, certainly those that had older siblings from where Nick was. And, we had him, tested, started getting some services, had him tested in late elementary school, really after he came home, and he was sad one day, and we asked him what he was upset about, and he shared with that, and that he was sad, and we said, well, how often are you sad? He said, every day. And so, of course, we took that incredibly seriously and really dug into the mental health aspects of what could be happening with our child and what's happening in his life, and to cause that. And out of that, we met some great professionals that were able to help us. Dr. Chris Bodrab in Indianapolis, Dr. Andy Brothers, a psychiatrist and a psychologist that has worked with Nick for a number of years, and he's doing great. Went to a school called Midwest Academy that we were very active with that helps kids on the spectrum located in Carmel, and is presently still slugging it away trying to get his bachelor's degree at IUPUI. He's got his associate's degree from Ivy Tech, and maybe within a year or so ought to tie up his bachelor's degree. Has a part-time job that's going real well for him, and it's just starting to get some independence living on his own.
Yeah, the living on his own thing, that's a traumatic experience for all parents. I think no matter what phase of life your kids are in, if they're going to college or it's post-college or what their personality is, that's an emotional experience when you're a parent. What's it been like for you to see him take that step into independent living?
Well, really pride. You know, Nick's ready for it. It comes with concern for us. I think folks on the spectrum, as you read about this, and Curtis, you know this from your own just professional life outside of this, they can get taken advantage of as adults. They're humans. They want to be liked. They want to be loved. They have a hard time interacting, though, with people all the time. And so if somebody shows some interest, oftentimes they get kind of taken financially, if they have some means, or in other ways. And so you got to let go, let people grow. He's got the tools to grow and doing a good job on his own. But we worry about those kinds of things when we're not necessarily having the same conversation over a dinner table every night with regular type of communication that we feel we can keep maybe a better handle on.
Yeah. Brian, you mentioned mental health. When we come back in just a minute, we're going to dive into some of what you're seeing here in Indianapolis and what you're helping to drive as a state as we look to change some of the ways that we handle mental health issues. We're going to be right back with part 2 of our conversation with Brian Burdick. Welcome back to Restoring Hope. I'm Curtis Smith. We're sitting with Brian Burdick tonight on this Thanksgiving night. And Brian, we mentioned mental health a few moments ago. Let's talk about it more. You have seen the impact here in Indianapolis. You briefly mentioned about how it's impacted the workforce. Downtown has been impacted. I think we all have. Mental health needs were on the rise prior to the pandemic. Now the pandemic seems to have highlighted and maybe exacerbated some of those situations. As you look around the landscape of your work life, your personal life, being in downtown frequently, what do you see on the mental health landscape across Indy?
Well, people are more focused on it, to your point, Curtis, than ever before. It's been something that seems to have been taboo to talk about, or people didn't want to talk about it for whatever their personal reasons were, and people seem more comfortable with it now. I think kids in particular are better at talking about these things than somebody of my generation. I know my kids are that way, my 3 kids that I have. And, you know, downtown's been interesting. For us, lawyers as a profession have some mental health needs, a little bit disproportionately amongst other professions. And so the American Bar Association had a big wellness and mental health focus, big challenge for large law firms, and our law firm's a top 100 size law firm in the country. And so we've accepted that challenge, agreed to it. Our general counsel, Kerry Jackson, has done a great job spearheading this initiative. So we have a significant focus on this, a big capital investment in it. We have a counselor that visits with a number of our lawyers individually, confidentially, you know, throughout the year, almost full time now, and that continues to grow.
Wow.
And so that's been, I would say, the biggest focus at the office. Inside. Outside the office, we own our building downtown. We're located at Washington and Meridian Streets in downtown Indianapolis, just 1 block south of the Circle. And in the last couple of years, particularly after COVID occurred, downtown's been less populated with workers, people working remotely, and far more populated with folks kind of walking around or living on the street. Seems like that number has increased.
Yeah.
And for us, that creates a feeling of, you know, unease in our employees as they walk around, as well as concerned. We just want folks who need treatment, who need help, to get treatment and get help. And so, you know, I think the legislature certainly is cognizant of that. They're more focused on these issues than they have in the past. And so I'm optimistic that we're turning a corner on those issues.
Let's talk about our legislators. Politics is something you've been very passionate about in your life and something you've been very involved with in your life. And now as you look ahead to the session that's not all that far down the bend here, just a month and a half away or so, what do you think legislators are going to be focusing on in the mental health space, and what do you think they should be doing to help Hoosiers as we head into 2023?
Big question about what they should be doing. I mean, this spins off in lots of different directions. there's really been a good focus on the Department of Child Services and trying to turn around some issues that have been in the department and focus on delivering services in the home earlier before a child may become a little more of an institutional case. That's yielding some great success. I think the legislature will continue to focus on that and funding that. A lot of that has to do with reallocating the way funding is spent presently. And they're tough issues, though. It's almost a thankless place to be working at the Department of Child Services in the following sense. If something negative happens and it occurs in the media or the press, it's almost as if the state failed in some way. And the family typically has had a breakdown somewhere to get to a point that somebody has needed some type of government service to help that. But the state's really stepping up in that regard, and I'm optimistic about that. At the adult level, with what you've seen around downtown or what I see around downtown, that's gotten the attention of everybody. And there's really falling into two buckets, I would say. We've got some really good leaders in the legislature on these topics that are in tune to it. Senator Mike Crider, who's out of Shelby County, I think will be carrying a bill focused on kind of 988 funding, the suicide prevention funding. And that's really about how we, create a fee or a surcharge to fund this going forward. We're great on policies and sometimes not always great on funding it or continuing the funding after we get something started. And Senator Crider is really looking to institutionalize that. And that should really focus on the infrastructure regarding regional behavioral clinics, and which will play an important role for folks that are struggling, whether it be in quiet despair or have reached out. On the criminal side, Greg Sturwald, Representative Sturwald, who's from Hendricks County, has been a leader on criminal code reform in our state, really over the last 10 years. And he is going to be focused on mental health issues related to folks that are committing crimes or offending in our communities. And he'll have a real significant bill coming out that focuses on a few things, a judicial opportunity to have an evaluation done and who can ask for that evaluation, a focus on who gives the evaluation. The big focus here will be violent versus nonviolent offenders, and maybe thinking about a paranoid schizophrenic different than maybe somebody who's just suffering from alcohol addiction. And this results in an aspect, Curtis, of where somebody may get treatment while they're in the system.
Right. Brian, there are so many things that our legislators have to be thinking about: the economy, education, health. Now mental health has become more on the front burner. Do you think as a state we're taking the right steps, we're doing the right things? It seems like we've become aware and we're trying to do the right things, and we're doing it better than other states. Do you feel good about the progress, or is there so much work still ahead it's hard to gauge at this point?
I feel really good about the progress, particularly in the last 2 years or so, 2 or 3 years. My sense is the focus on what's happening in our criminal justice system and in an effort to stop recidivism is really impacted by mental health and getting treatment to folks. There's discussion about, should we have a new psychiatric hospital? Should folks that are as I mentioned earlier, a paranoid schizophrenic, be in a DOC facility, a prison, or should they be in a mental health facility and committed to that? And there's a lot that goes into that analysis, but that discussion's been off the table, it seems, for a long time. I think, in large part, the focus on trying to get people treatment while they may be incarcerated or otherwise, not in a prison or a jail, but in some other facility where they can get treatment, is huge towards driving down our recidivism rate and better for their families, better for them, better for our community. It's just better outcomes all around.
Yeah. Brian, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us tonight. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Brian Burdick, the managing partner of Barnes Thornburg here in Indianapolis. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Each week here on Restoring Hope, we spend a few minutes focusing on the word at the core of the title of our show, hope in our Beacon of Hope segment. Before we hear from one of our counselors, I wanted to share a few thoughts with you on this Thanksgiving night. 2022 has been a difficult year in our country and our world. COVID lingered, inflation soared, the economy struggled, the world continued to go through the growing pains of an environment where connections happen through technology more than ever before. For me personally, this year has been a challenge. A dual role at work has given me more to do every day. I'm the chairman of the elder board at my church, where we're going through a pastor search. And the challenge of parenting adult children has caused different dynamics in our household. I can become overwhelmed, sad, and even melancholy. And I sometimes wonder what God is up to and why things don't happen the way I want them to or when I want them to. However, in the midst of all of that, I'm often reminded that God is faithful. His ways are not our ways. I have much to be thankful for, and tonight, of all nights, I'm reminded to live a life of thankfulness, not just for the things the world tells me to be thankful for, health, a roof over my head, food, safety, all of that. Those are all good things, and I am thankful for them. But I'm trying more and more to live a life of thankfulness for the things that matter much more. God, His inconceivable love for me. He sent His Son Jesus to die for my sins, for my family and my friends and the loving relationships that God has given me. I'm going to strive in the coming year to let that attitude of gratitude permeate my life and not just on Thanksgiving. Well, tonight in our Beacon of Hope segment, Crosswinds Vice President Rob Eicher is back with us to share his thoughts on the busyness of life and how he processes through the challenges that he is currently facing.
Hi, I'm Rob Eicher, the Vice President at Crosswinds Counseling, and I want to share with you something that has been very meaningful for me and has helped me get through super busy seasons of life. We live in America. With the American dream, as they call it, comes a lot of busyness and a lot of chaos. In my life right now, I'm married. I have a 19-year-old son, a 13-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, and my wife just gave birth to another baby who was born with Down syndrome. 2 of my kids play travel soccer. 1 plays basketball. And I'm the vice president of a growing counseling organization. So that's a lot of busyness to manage. So one of the things that has been very helpful for me is to prioritize. When I get in a season of life where I feel like there's no way I can keep up, there's no way that I can get done everything that needs to get done, it's very helpful to pause and to pray through, okay, God, and I will also ask myself, what do I want to emphasize? Where are the top 3 areas that I have to succeed? For me personally, in this season, and I just did it this morning, number 1 is my spirituality. I want to continue to grow as an individual. I want to strengthen my spiritual life. So I get up at 4:30 most mornings so that I can get that quiet time to focus, to get recharged, to pray, to read my Bible, to go for a walk before my family gets up and before the chaos begins. The second priority for me is connecting with my wife and my kids. I want to make sure that I connect with each one of them individually. I may not see my 19-year-old, but I can at least send him a text or send him a reel off of Instagram that I know will make him laugh. I can take 5 minutes when I get home from work and sit on the couch with my wife and have at least 5 uninterrupted minutes. That's my number 2 priority, is my family. And then number 3, I want to serve God and be successful for the long run, so I'm not willing to let my body go. So every day I do something to help me physically, lifting weights, going for a run, whatever it is. So that's something that I do. I would encourage you to take time, whatever season of life you're in, to think about what are the top 3 priorities in your life, and then plan accordingly.
Welcome back to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. In our Counseling Corner segment tonight, Grant Anderson joins us to share his thoughts on Thanksgiving night.
Hi, my name is Grant Anderson with Crosswinds Counseling. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about if the Thanksgiving holiday gives you stress, how can we tackle Thanksgiving? And so go through 6 things that kind of help you approach Thanksgiving in a way that's going to give you the best outcomes. And so number 1 maybe is obvious, but going with a plan. Kind of know what you're getting into, what to expect, where the stressors are, and kind of know how to kind of maybe go around them, avoid those if possible. 2, focus on your feelings. Know how you're feeling going into it. Make sure you have that in check as you're going into it. And then you also want 3, just be understanding of others. One of the big things of the Thanksgiving holidays is it can be divisive, and we can have a lot of divisive conversations. And so if you're aware of how you're feeling and your understanding of where others are coming from, that doesn't mean you're agreeing with them, but you're open to just hearing. It can be more helpful to your mental health as well. Number 4, just stick to a routine. If you're used to waking up, brushing your teeth, going for a run, going to get that Starbucks, continue that routine. We find that with mental health, having a routine, sticking to that routine, especially with stress in your life, are going to keep you less likely to get more and more stress coming into your life because you're doing something that your body is used to. 5, practice gratitudes. Practice, what is the Thanksgiving season all about? Can you be thankful for in the season? What is there something to be thankful for about? And then 6, focus on what you can control. Not everything is in your control. If someone's going to burn the turkey, it may not be at all in your control, but you can focus on how you react. You can focus on perhaps where you're going to sit, when you're going to walk away from a conversation, when you're going to leave the room. Keep those things in your control. So hopefully these help you as you approach the holiday season.
Thanks, Grant, and thanks to all of you for joining us on this Thanksgiving night. I hope you have a blessed holiday weekend with your family and friends. We'll see you next Thursday night at 9:30.